Well, welcome everybody. I'm Dave from SALT Sport and Life Training, and this is the 13th edition of the SALT Lunchbox. And we welcome you on Zoom, but also on Facebook Live, which has been another great platform that's been attracting some really big numbers tuning in. So we're grateful to people out there in Facebook land as well. Many of you will know us as an organisation that works in sporting clubs, and primarily we do. But right now we're using this time of physical isolation to build a stronger, more capable, more online savvy version of SALT and trying to help people in a different way at the moment. The aim of this lunchbox is to inspire and connect. Inspire you to take at least one action away from today that you can put in your toolbox, or as Edwina would refer to, can be that anchor that you hold on to during difficult times. We want you to stay connected to the people who you love, and to create connections with the community that we're forming here on the Lunchbox. We'd love you to participate in the Q&A as always by putting in questions or statements at the bottom of the screen, sharing them with all panelists and attendees to read. And as always, we'd like to express our deep appreciation to our sponsors, Eastland, Bendigo Bank and FC Business Solutions, for their generosity. Without their support, we wouldn't have these wonderful sessions. I'm also excited to announce that we're hoping by Monday, the 11th of May, to be running online wellbeing and mental health sessions into clubs or organisations, about 60 minutes long, with the live quiz that we always use in clubs, and a real focus on getting through this particular period of time and how we can connect within our clubs or organisations more effectively. So if you're interested, I'll put the details up for that later on, and many leagues will be promoting that out to their clubs. Today, we're very privileged to be hearing from Richard Maloney. Richard is the founder and CEO of Quality Mind Global, an international mindfulness business with over 500 clients in 30 plus countries. Richard is a headline speaker at many conferences and events, and he's spoken in over 15 countries. And is the author of Injury Free, Mental Training for Elite Athletes, The Minds of Winning Teams, Creating Team Success Through Engagement and Culture, and he's set to release his third book, Stress Free, How to Thrive Under Pressure in Unprecedented Times. That's coming out in July. And for those of you who were watching Channel 7 News last night, he was on it. I asked my wife to put on Channel 7 News last night, and I was listening to it from my study, waiting for him to come on. Unfortunately, it was on Channel 9 News, so I didn't hear it, but I'd love to have heard what you said. So welcome, Richard, and that's quite a resume. And so tell us a little bit about how all this came about.
Well, hello, David, and thank you very much for having me on the call, and greetings to all our viewers and listeners from around the world. It's great to be here, and well done on SALT. It's an extremely successful organisation helping so many people, so credit to you and the team. Well, I was an 18-year-old drafted to St Kilda, for now 45 as of Sunday, you'd be pleased to know. And so many, many years ago, when I got to St Kilda through Trevor Barker, I got to the big stage and I couldn't handle pressure. Always a young gun. And then what happened then, within a very short amount of time, I was omitted. And that's really when I woke up. So for the next few years, I went and played football around Australia, and I went on a very mystical tour for the next 15 years of life. What's life all about? Why am I here? Why do I feel this way? All these sorts of things. And so I really just, over the course of the years, have been one of those life learners, and here I am today with proven skill sets for helping people, especially athletes and everyday people, to get themselves into a thriving position.
No, terrific. And so tell us a little bit about Quality Minds. And I had the privilege of tuning into most of the webinar series that you ran last week, and there were people from all around the world testifying to how successful your mechanisms or thought patterns that you try to develop have been working for them. So tell us, I know it's a very short amount of time for you to be able to tell us just the mountain peaks of what you do and why you believe it works.
Well, we don't believe it works. We know it works. So in essence, Dave, we've really made the complex simple so people can go on a journey to maximising their true potential. And we do it in a way that's very systemised. And so there's about 25 mind mentors. We're just everyday people who have a passion for personal development, psychology, that sort of transformation, and then they want to build a system, business in the mindfulness space. So we have an app which you'll be given free access to for your listeners today, which you get to reprogram your brain, your body, your entire being. So it's very much tech-based, but with a high level of IP along the way, which I've really been building for 20 years.
Great. So take us through your slides and help us to have another tool that we can use.
It would be my pleasure. So let's kick it off. I'll just share my screen. All right. Well, can you see it, Dave? All
no,
good?
I can't see your screen. But,
you are good to go.
Yep.
Keep going.
Okay. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I've been asked to talk about today is turning your fear into powerful thoughts. And so we have so many different models that we present, but more importantly, this really is a powerful, we call it the 6 stages of mindful alignment. So with this concept is how I basically redesigned my thinking processes when I realized that there was a system to me having anxiety and having panic attacks and having depression at certain stages of my life. Now, I've coached hundreds of people with this methodology, and what it allows you to do is allows you to get logical on really how I've got myself into a funk. Why do I have so much head junk? And how to get yourself out of a position where you've got anxiety, or you've got yourself into a position where it's just uncomfortable and it's not great, which is why we're here. Today we have so much fear around with this pandemic, so it's really useful. And so again, we normally wouldn't bring this out straight away because there's quite a few models that would bring in beforehand to give you some tools to go through here, but I'm going to jump straight in. So this is the process to really, you could say, anxiety. The first thing that happens, in my opinion, usually 9 times out of 10, is that you're going to go into a thought. So whilst we can, guys, get your chat box out, and if you can, just share with me, whether it's yours or someone in your family, what's your biggest fears right now? What's really running on your mind? What's weighing on your mind right now when it comes to your living environment? So, am I going to have a job tomorrow? Am I going to get sick? These sort of things. I want you to just share with this so I can just tap into my audience to get a feel for it. I'd like you to just get engaged with me if you can, and just write down some passing thoughts that's come past you that's really had you worried. Okay, so I can get a feel for here. You are not who you think you are. Is life going to be back to what it was like? Worse, better? Yes, great. Love that, Edwina. Yep. Karen, money and job uncertainty? Absolutely. Annette, uncertainty, brilliant. Financial issues, because we're all feeling the same things, the majority of us anyway. Maybe not all of us, but certainly a fair share. The impact on not playing community sport for a while? Yes, correct. Being alone? Fear of the unknown. Excellent. Okay. I've got what I needed. Well done. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so I'm going to come back, but I'll just take you through this step by step. So what happens here is what I've figured out quite simply is we have 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day. Now, I didn't figure that out, but that's quite a fact these days. And they're thoughts that just usually are focused on yesterday's thinking. So 70% just flow over to the next day. So we're really living into the past most of the time. And so our thoughts are powerful forces. And so if we've got the thought coming through our head that is fear-based, that is negative-based, that is worrisome, you're going to find instantly in your upper body, you're going to get a sensation. Okay, so in your body, so for instance, I have a fear of finances, and if you repeat that enough times, you're going to find you're going to get some type of sensation in your body where it's not a great feeling, whether it's a tight chest, whether it's clenching your fist, your jaw, you can sort of feel it around your neck, your head, whatever it is. And the reason why I'm saying this is so we can trace back in just a second. So in actual fact, I can't see you, but I want you to do this for me if you can. I want you to all go to that thought that you just put up in the chat box. I want you to then close your eyes for a second, if you can, just by yourself. No one can see you. I can't see you. Close your eyes, and I want you to think about that thought that you just had. All right, and then I want you to place your hand on your body wherever you feel the sensation happening. So if I feel, like, just go finances, footy, whatever it may be, close your eyes, say it enough times, and then feel the sensation in your body and put your hand on it. It'll usually be in one spot for you, okay? I can't see if you're doing this, so I'm going to move on. So when you start to locate this, you can start seeing that the thought usually comes first for the sensation second. Having said that, the sensation can come first and the thought can come second as well, but usually it's the thought. So what happens next, after the sensation is if you keep thinking that negative thought, the sensation keeps stronger, you're going to find yourself getting into a mood. And so it's really just an overbearing thought and an overbearing feeling, a sensation in the body. And so you're going into a mood now. Like people say, why is she like that? Oh, she's just like that. I'm not a morning person. You know, I'm not great on a Thursday. All these sorts of things, because in goes the thought, in comes the sensation, bang goes into the mood. Right? So you're now in momentum, well and truly into momentum. If you take that to the next level, then we're going into anxiety. And so anxiety, quite simply, is the banging of thought, the sensation overload. You've got yourself into a funk. Now you're really starting to really ride the thoughts, ride thing, and you've really got yourself into momentum. And momentum, I mean by trying to stop a rolling ball going down a hill. Okay, and I'll come back to that in just a minute, but the ball is now rolling down the hill. And then what, oh, don't happen there, I'll just skip through. And what can happen next? Again, this is generalizing, and let me also mention that these are just our ideas, okay? This isn't for mainstream. If you don't like it, that's fine, it doesn't work for you. I'm just putting this on the table for you to consider, and it just seems to be what works really well for all our clients around the world to quickly get logic on where they're putting their intention and their focus, but to become mindful. So after the anxiety, if you've got that really banging away, you're going to find you're going to step into possibly for some people, a type of a panic attack, which is an overriding loud voice in your head, and the sensation now is just banging away. You can't breathe. You're into an attack of some description because the two motors of 1 and 2 are firing away. Then what can happen then is you can lead yourself into a dark path. All right, so how do we get out of this? Once we have logic in this, we wheel our way all the way back up. And once we realize that, quite simply, is if we change the thought, remembering that the thought sometimes sticks into the dark corners of your mind. And so sometimes you can't pick up the thought. And that's why we say you've got to find the sensation, because the sensation can't be, it's always available to you to feel if you're mindful about it. And so the thought's in really quickly. The sensation will tell you if it's in or not. And so if you change your thought to, I thrive under pressure, I am safe, my finances will always look after itself, the world's going to come back bigger and better, all these thoughts and fears that you had, you're going to find the sensation will depart. In fact, you'll get a liberation, you'll get a high energy feeling, just a little hit, and you're going to find that the mood stops as well. Okay, so you're really rewiring yourself here. So what we're saying here is you're getting yourself into a place where you've got a great frame of mind. You've got great energy again, because the more you're fearful and worrying, you're depleting your whole system. But then if you reverse the thought all the time, and we do this deliberately to reprogram ourselves. And so, as I said, the thought goes in first, or the sensation goes in first. Usually it's the thought. Now, if you let that negative thought just keep banging away in your head, you're going to find yourself spiral all the way down. Okay, so when you stop that thought, that's when we wake up in the morning after a sleep, we go for a walk, our thoughts changed, which will change the sensation naturally. But if you get in there and change it all the time, you're going to find yourself reprogramming yourself. And so just to close on this, the reason why this is important is because when you were born from 0 to 7, you're more or less going on a journey of capturing everything around your life unconsciously in a hypnotic format. So your brain really working on a Hertz level. And it's like you're born in the body and you came here as an empty canvas, somewhat with a bit of DNA and so forth, but generally speaking, your conscious mind was empty. And so we've taken ourselves on a 7-year journey, or the way we're designed is we've just captured the whole world around us and filled our program up based on our surroundings. Okay, so the first 7 years, you've really you've programmed 95% of your subconscious. And so all of your change, if you're not where you want to be today, it's because you need to change your subconscious. Now, if 95% of that was embedded from 0 to 7 years old, how do we create the change? And that's what we're talking about here. So the first way is you can go in there through hypnosis and NLP and manipulate the change. We know that for certain. There's other ways, but what they're doing with this is they're going into your subconscious to create the change. And the only other way, really, well, there's many ways, but the biggest way, the key here, is to understand it's about repetition and reprogramming. Your brain is neuroplasticity. It's about neuroplasticity. It's ready to change. It doesn't care where it goes. It's always changing based on what you want it to change, if you want it to change. It's like the keyboard in my computer here. If I jot details into my keyboard here and it goes into the brain of my computer, it doesn't have an emotional connection to what goes in. It just does what it's told. So if you're changing your fears into power statements all the time, you're reprogramming the neurons in your brain to refire and wire in a different way. It's like when you started to learn to drive a car, you had to do it repetitively. Doing the alphabet repetitively. We know that. And that's why what we're saying is all we need to do to create massive change and to bring abundance back into your life if you don't have it, and so you don't become a negative thinker all the time, you reprogram yourself into a powerful thinker, which raises your energy, which raises your immune system, which raises your influence as a leader and a business person, a mother and a father, then you're going to find yourself getting into a place of high vibration and happiness. The key here in this message is you change your thoughts or you change the sensation. The sensation is usually the place you've got to start because the thought goes in so quick, you can't find it, but the sensation will trigger where you get it, and then you go straight back in and keep reprogramming by getting the opposite of the first fear. So if you look at the fears you gave me just then, in fact, look at all your fears that you're probably writing down. If you are writing some down now, just do one thing and reframe them and go the complete opposite way and just fake it till you make it. Okay, so there's your activity for the day. Dave, you want to jump in?
No, thank you, Richard. That's powerful. I'm going to bring in Edwina. And for those who don't know Edwina, she's our resident positive psychologist. And Ed, I'll throw over to you. I mean, this resonates with a lot of the things that we've been talking about previously. And so can you frame what Richard's been saying in relation to some of the things that we've been talking about around PosEd?
Oh, absolutely. I think, sitting at the core of positive psychology, well, firstly, it's about other people matter, but it is about the changing thinking to change behavior. And that's really at the heart of what I do every day, is we know that we're not going to get changes in behavior until thinking changes, and the negativity and our fear of failure. And I can resonate too, Richard, that whole dealing with anxiety. When you have that as a sports person, your brain gets disconnected from your arms and legs and you get paralyzed almost. We've seen that with golfers and tennis players that it's a real thing. And the heart of that does come. And, I've learned something today too. I'm like, okay, yeah. That sensation piece that we feel it physically. And so there's something for us to really identify so that we end up, I think the biggest thing is we end up responding rather than reacting to the things that life throws at us, because we can't control what happens to us. We can control how we respond. And this becomes an incredibly valuable tool for our wellbeing toolkit. So just fabulous.
The sensation's the warning sign. There's the alarm bell going, you're off track.
Yeah. Can I refer to change theory? And it talks about, three big aspects: our emotions, our behaviors, and our thoughts. And it feels to me today, like Richard, you've been talking about one of them, the thoughts. And I believe that change theory says if you really work on one of these, it's going to change the other two. I'm thinking along the lines that sometimes I can change my thoughts and emotions by perhaps changing my behavior. So if I start hanging out with really positive people, it's going to, and I'm doing positive things, that's also going to affect my emotions or thoughts. So I throw it over to you guys. Does it have to start with thoughts, or can we work firstly from an emotional base or from a behavioral base? We're going to have Les Twentyman talking about show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And often we're witnessing certain behaviours that impact the way that we actually think after that. I'll throw to either of you to answer to that. Does it have to start with thoughts?
So I'll jump in there if you don't mind. The way I see the world is a behaviour comes from a thought.
Mm-hmm.
An emotion usually comes from a thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not great. I'm not saying all the time, but a lot of the time it's the thought first which creates the emotion.
Yep.
And this is my world, okay? And then the behaviour comes third. Mm-hmm. So if you drill it all the way back, most of the time, it's usually the thought that's creating the bodily sensation, because if you're not feeling great, you're not going to go to your friend's house.
Yeah. Good.
So if you go all the way back,
yeah,
okay, and you locate it, and then you figure out why it's there and what's it saying, then you can usually change the sensation or the emotion, such as. I mean, you can call
and
this
I think,
sensation
Dave,
or emotion.
when we talked about values last week, that values are that thing also that sit underneath the water that will trigger some of these thoughts too. So there are triggers for thoughts, and it's having an awareness of our values to know where they come from. Because sometimes, you know, these sensations, Richard, and you'll probably, that can come without an awareness. And so making an awareness, and I think you say to write things down, you know, bring them into consciousness by writing it down and understanding and bringing to awareness what we're thinking, so that we can look at reframing and what are those statements that are going to be our go-to statements.
I'm just looking at some of the comments in the chat, and one of them's around about finance, and next Wednesday we're going to be talking about finances. But let's just say I'm saying to myself, I'm really worried about money because there's some real indicators that I'm running out of money, like I've lost my job and my bank account is going down dramatically. Now I can tell myself I'm going to be rich or whatever, but that's going to feel a little fake to me if I know that deep down I'm trying to convince myself of something that my bank account details are saying is not true. Richard, can you comment, how easy is it to have your brain?
So if you continually tell yourself money worries, money worries, money worries, money worries, you're going to go into a place of non-action. You're going to go into a place of depression nearly. You're going to go into a place of anxiety and worry, and it might just be too overriding for you to take action.
Yeah. And
so you get up in the morning and you look at what's happening in your brain, because the cortisol has woken you up, which is the stress adrenaline. And so then you say, oh my God, my finances. But then you retrain yourself to the point where money comes to me easily and effortlessly, whatever it is, and I'm ready to take action. If you keep banging this away and completely reverse the I'm worried about money's aspect, you're going to find that your computer will make you take action. Yeah. Because you've already put the program in. And so all of a sudden you're out there now looking for creative ideas to make more money, as opposed to initially sitting in your lounge chair at home feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah, no, I love it. Rich, I'm going to interrupt you because we've only got about 3 minutes until we throw to the sort of conclusion. But you did a very powerful activity with the chair when I was doing your webinar. And if you can spend 3 minutes talking us through it, it is a wonderful tool to have in your toolkit that I've used on a number of occasions since hearing it.
So it's just a powerful way for people to understand how quickly they can change their state. You are in full control of all your thoughts, whether you like it or not. And so what we're saying here is, if you really think of a negative time, like I did earlier, and then you think of a really powerful time, and so what I do with my clients is I'll actually stand behind my chair, because it's all online now, and I'll get them to anchor into a really negative time where they were, having those fearful thoughts, and then go and stand in that, but then already anchored over here, the mega powerful thoughts of when they were highly successful in the past, or drawing a picture of their future, which is going to be great, whatever they choose. However, it's really just about taking them from anchor to anchor, and they start to realize that they can change their state in no matter of 10 seconds, from highly depressed to highly excited. And so once the brain starts, or the whole cellular structure starts understanding this, it takes more logical thinking now to get into a power place. So it's just the penny drops quicker.
No, that's terrific. Ed, do you want to add anything before we start concluding for today? I found that really powerful. I could remember a time when I just felt defeated and weak, and Richard, in the exercise that we did, got us to remember how we were hearing and seeing and smelling and thinking, and the mood of the room, and it was awful. I felt terrible, and I remember I felt like a child that couldn't control his life. And then he said, now remember when you were in control and powerful and the world was your oyster. And I took myself to that place. And then he said, so when you're feeling this way, you can just move around the chair, think of that standing on the other side, and go, no, this is the person that I am. It's that powerful, creative person that's making a difference. I just found that to be tremendously helpful. Ed, do you want to share before I move into the conclusion?
Look, I was just going to say, it's just the power of positive emotion. It's being able to generate that for ourselves. I think we can't also underestimate the power of connection with others. So, sharing our thoughts with others too. And I think self-compassion, being kind to ourselves, and, particularly at this time when we are overwhelmed with a number of things, to just lower our expectations a bit and have that self-compassion. Now, that's all our comes about through just our responsible thinking. That we don't have to be as mums, we don't have to be Wonder Woman. We actually just have to manage things and be really compassionate. And I think coming back to Louise's self-care, that all of this comes through our thinking. And so it is just incredibly powerful, the message that Richard shares, and that it's something that we all have to do. We can't think for one another. We have to do it ourselves.
No, that's really excellent. I'm going to share my screen and just hang on a sec.
So whilst you're doing that,
Yep.
we've got a mindfulness and sport podcast for listeners to jump onto with Sean Higgins and myself. Feel free to find that on iTunes and Spotify. That was what was on Channel 7 News last night. And also we've got a free app on Quality Mind app. Download that for free. Do 10 days worth of beginners meditations if you want, and you'll start to see the thought shopping process that we use in the app, which will help you reprogram.
You know, I've watched Sean Higgins play footy over many years as just a footy lover, both at Western Bulldogs and North Melbourne. And I was listening to him on your webinar the other night, just paying credit to the way he now thinks and prepares his whole week in regard to this positive thinking. So no doubt it's very, very powerful. 3 takeaways from today: have awareness of what your thoughts are. Have awareness of what thoughts are creating your current.
Hey, Dave, come here. He's just walked in. Say good day to Dave.
Hey, here he is.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Good,
Well,
mate.
welcome to our webinar, and congratulations on your very good form. I was just saying I've enjoyed watching your playing career and how consistent you've been.
Good on you, Dave. Thanks, mate. Thank you.
I'm going to start that again. Have awareness of what thoughts are creating your current feelings. So here's my feelings. What are the thoughts that are creating those? Understand that you have the ability to change the way you think and therefore feel. And that repetition is the key to creating long-lasting change. So that's terrific. Call to action. Can you name at least 3 currently held negative thoughts and then find the opposite thoughts to replace them with? I'm not actually weak, I'm powerful. I'm not actually selfish, I'm generous. Because I think we do default to that negativity bias very, very regularly without actually realizing it. Now, let's reverse them and start living to those positive thoughts. And download the free Quality Mind app, as Richard has already said you can do, which is terrific. Next Monday, we've got a terrific guest, and his name is Glenn Fisher. And Glenn is the CEO of an organisation called Peripheral Vision. He's an ex-Australian surf lifeboat champion. He's, again, like Richard, got great insight into performance and being your best under pressure. He's going to talk about the science of self-control, of actually what's going on inside your brain, a little bit like today, but what impact does stress have, and how can you design your habits and your rituals to gain peak performance? So we're really building on some of these themes. I'm enjoying that. Next Wednesday is going to be less about the whole POS cycle. It's going to be really practical. Financial pain, ways to gain. Corin Jacker is a great friend of mine, and he's actually going to be talking about what are some of the really essential things we need to do if our finances are suffering, what's available to us, and he'll be giving us some wonderful keys there. And on Friday, I'm going to be talking about stress busters. Who are you going to call? Stress busters. So we're going to talk about that word stress. We use it a lot, and what are some things that we can do to change that thinking, again, a little bit like we've talked about today, but always with a different angle. Thank you to our partners, to Bendigo Bank, to FC, to Eastland. Without you, we couldn't do what we're going to do. So in conclusion today, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Ed. We hope that once again, you're going to take away a tool or an anchor to hang on to during this difficult time. Thanks to Rich, to James, our moderator, to everybody who's partaken, to everybody out there in Facebook. We'd love for you to continue the discussion if you want to on our Facebook site. And don't forget, you can go and continue to listen to Richard and Sean Higgins if you want to look that up and be a part of that. Thanks for today. Bye for now.
Thanks, Doug.